everyone, and welcome to the Brewer Spotlight. I'm your host, Ed, and today we have, if you could please introduce yourself.
Chris Schmelzer.
Of Boss. Chris, how long have you been with Boss, and how long have you been brewing?
Well, the same amount of time, actually, since 2015. The Base Malt Institute at Hailstorm in 2015 was my first meeting. It might have been really early 2016, but I wasn't brewing very long before I joined Boss, thanks to being pointed in that direction by Ian Wilson.
Okay, so Ian from Rock Bottom.
Yes, formally
kind of
from
brought
Rock
you into
Bottom,
the hobby.
unfortunately.
Right, yeah. We've got to be careful who we plug, right? Yeah. All right. It's all right.
That's I don't know if that's a question down the road, but that's what got me started. Was we were at a charity thing at Rock Bottom, and my wife got me the brewer for a day, so I got to shadow Ian for a day. We were brewing. What's the Angel one? It's a triple or something like that, Belgian triple, I think.
Okay.
And I just fell in love with it, and I got home, got on Amazon. I think I spent $300 on brewing equipment that day, and he pointed me towards Boss, and I think it was a month later I joined, and then whenever that Base Malt Institute was one of my first meetings.
So the first beer that you ever brewed was on a commercial system.
Yes.
With a pro brewer.
Yes.
That's how to see. Now that's an original story here. We haven't heard that one yet. So okay.
Well, I wouldn't say I brewed it. He let me put the hops in, then he let me do the grain out.
So you got to do all the grunt work.
Exactly.
It's like brewing. It's close enough,
Yeah.
man. You're all the cleanup.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and that first beer was a Belgian triple. Okay.
I think it's a Fallen Angel, I think was what we brewed. I believe that's a Belgian triple, if memory serves. It's been a while. But whatever, Fallen Angel was the name of the beer, whatever the style was for that particular one. But I think there was a lot of freaking grain.
Yeah, I believe it. So what about that first homebrew? What was that first homebrew that you ended up making?
Not quite as good. It was an Irish Red from Brewer's Best, I think, an extract kit. I think I did 3 or 4 extract kits before I made the jump to all grain. It was good. I mean, as you know, it was an amateur, like a lot of people. My first beer was Mr. Beer. That was several years before, and that was an experiment gone bad when I left the Mr. Beer in my garage for about 3 months with just maraschino cherries sitting in it. It looks like something out of a creep show with the so I went right in the garbage. But no, I guess for an extract kit, with having no influence whatsoever on the input or the outcome, it turned out okay. I bottled it, I gave it to some friends, and they seemed to enjoy it. They may have just been being polite, but you know, who knows? And this ramped up from there. You know, I brewed what I liked, and I still do. But that was pretty much, that was my first doing it by myself was an extract kit. It was an Irish Red, and I thought it was good. But what did I know then?
And it was good enough to see it through. So
it was good enough to keep me going. I had enough fun with it.
Yeah. So I happen to see, now I know the story here, but I happen to see you're wearing some merchandise.
Yes.
So do you have a home brewery name? And,
I do.
And if so, where does it come from? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Flame Out Brewing I came up with. It's kind of a double entendre. Obviously, if you brew, you know that flame out / knockout is when you turn the flame off on your kettle and you start the whirlpool and all of the post-boil process. However, my full-time real job is I'm a captain, firefighter, paramedic for a fire department. So that's why the flame's on top. And my wife and daughter came up with the logo with the hop cone for the O and everything else. And they surprised me one Christmas with the logo shirt, and kind of just taken off from there.
So we got shirts, we got caps, we got labels, I know whenever I see that label on a bottle or whatever, when it's at a Boss event, I always know I need to go get one of those. So it's always, you know, like I can always, you know, and not to toot anybody's horn there, but the people that, in my personal opinion, the people that take the time to make their own labels, like tend to be the ones that are the better brewers. I don't, you know, like if they put that much time and effort into it, that's tends to be what I see. So
Well, as long as they put the same amount of effort into what goes in the bottle.
yeah, yeah. So no, that stuff cracks me up. I love it. I love it all.
We are a creative bunch.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. So we talked about the first beer and how it was, and is like so. I don't know you for Irish Reds. What is the style that you tend more towards? And is it because you like that style more, or is it more or less, what you brew is what you drink? Like, how does that work for you?
I like obviously malt forward beers. I'm not a hophead. I will from time to time, if it's on the menu, I'll try a paleo, I'll try an IPA. I'm a stout guy. I am a Irish red guy, more the malt forward ones. I do, as Ian would always put it, like the yellow fizzy beers. I also like your Kolsch's and your Pilsners and stuff like that. Those are if you're gonna be drinking all day. But at the end of the night, a nice hearty stout, adjunct stout with some flavor, and maybe an imperial stout would it's definitely a nice way to end the night before you switch to the bourbon. And that's what I drink, and I started brewing those because that's what my wife likes. So you have to keep the one that funds the hobby happy. So
Hey, I'm in the same boat. I totally understand that. So so those are those styles that you tend to gravitate towards. Would you say that there's any styles that you want to try that you haven't had a chance to really brew yet? Is there anything that you kind of like got your eye on for something new?
I have brewed a Hefeweizen. I did not like the way it turned out, so I would like to give it another go and try to perfect that recipe. Maybe I didn't even enter into a competition because I knew it wasn't to style. So I would like to try that again and maybe get some feedback from the judges' feedback on that. And I would really, it's an investment in equipment, but I would like to get into lagering. I've done a couple lagers, just kind of pseudo throwing it in my kegerator and letting it sit kind of thing. But I really like Oktoberfests. I really like Dunkels, Munich Dunkels, and I would like to do more of those. It's more of a time involvement and equipment investment, but I think for the finished product, especially for being a malt guy, would be worth it.
I could see that. Is there a particular style that you're like, yeah, probably never going to try that. Never going to try my hand at that.
I don't think you'll ever see me make a milkshake IPA or a double IPA or anything like that.
Okay. All right.
Although never say never.
Yep. Never say never. Never say never. So, so I've seen your brewing layout before, all grain, right? Like
Yes.
Yeah. And because I know we had talked about you doing some extract prior. What is in your setup, what would you say is that tool that you can't do without, or that piece of gear? What's your favorite tool in the arsenal from milling to bottling or kegging? Like what's that piece?
Have to narrow it down to just one. I would say if I could get two. I like my burner setup is really good. It's a 2-tier burner. It was made for a crab boil.
Okay.
So it's got a lower BTU, more for strike water and stuff like that, and it's got a 225,000 BTU jet burner that gets it up to a boil just so fast. I'm not waiting for everything to boil. And then on the other side of things, I took a landscape pump and I used that to circulate through my wort chiller, and I have a big Jose Cuervo cooler that I fill with ice water, and I circulate that through my wort chiller to cool it down even faster.
Okay.
An honorable mention would probably be my refractometer, because that changed the mash scenario a whole lot, being able to keep track of where the conversion was going. Sorry, that wasn't just one.
That's all right. I like hearing all the different pieces that different people have.
We love our toys.
A lot of us do, man, and we got a lot of them to pick around with. What would you say would be the best piece of advice that you would give to a new brewer, like starting off in the hobby?
Brew what you like. if you're going to brew 5 gallons and have 2 cases of beer of a style you don't drink just because your buddy down the streets likes IPA, you're not going to have as much fun with it. Brew something you like. To even narrow that down further, try to brew a clone of a commercial beer that you like, so you can try it side by side and see what you may want to change. You know, if you try a peanut butter porter from somebody and, oh, this tastes good, but what would it taste like with chocolate in it? Add chocolate to it. That's the beauty of brewing your own beer. You can do whatever you want. If you want to do a hot pepper mango kolsch, you can do that, you know. But
I think I've
be
seen
creative, but
that
start with something that you like. Something
Mhm.
you're going to drink. Don't waste it.
No, that's true. Waste not, want not. There we go. So, all right. So beyond that, you recently had the chance to brew yet another commercial beer with your award-winning Augustus Gloom Pa here. So I thought we would drink this on camera today, if that was all right with you.
We might as well.
It's a little early, but that's okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this beer? Where did it come from? What's in it? How did you end up with the opportunity to brew at Imperial Oak?
This was my 3rd or 4th version of this recipe. It came from, like I said before, with try something commercial and tweak it. There's a brewery in Fort Collins called Horse and Dragon Brewing, and they make a beer called Sad Panda. That is a coffee chocolate vanilla stout. And probably 5 years ago, in the infancy of my brewing days, my wife and I were in Denver, and we had this beer at a brew pub, and both agreed it was probably the best beer we ever had in our life. And she said, "Make me that." So the one that shall always be obeyed got her way, and I made a derivative of that. It was more coffee forward than theirs, and needed some tweaks, stuff like that. I entered it. It did fairly well in a couple of competitions. I believe Spooky Brews, I did okay, and I believe Drunk Monk, I believe I got a 3rd with it. I took the judges' comments to heart, revamped the recipe a little bit, added some more darker malts, tweaked the flavor profile as far as the adjuncts go, did it again. I really wasn't thrilled with it, so I don't think I entered it the 2nd time. We did it the 3rd time, and that's what you're drinking now. I entered into Bricktoberfest, and I thought that the results were going to be announced on a Tuesday. So I'm in Phoenix, Arizona with my family, and you texted me on a Monday, said you won. And I'm like, won what? And then the spice beer category was right before best of show. So you texted me I won, and then you texted me best of show, and I couldn't believe it. We texted back and forth, and then obviously I got home, and not that I'd ever doubt you, Ed, but confirmed it. And the prize for that, on top of some hardware to hang on my wall, was the ability to brew it at Imperial Oak Brewing. So we brewed it in December, and we just tapped it this past weekend. And what you're drinking is the fruits of those labors. My first one, I swear. And the process they used at Imperial Oak was a little bit different due to the sheer volume. Brewing 217 gallons of it versus 5, quite a bit different. When I brew it, I put dark chocolate into the boil kettle, which led to the name, because I was brewing it in my garage, and my wife cracks open the door and said, "It smells like Willy Wonka out here." So I'm like, well, what name could I use? So then Augustus Gloop is obviously a main character in that, and the Oompa Loompas, so I combine the two, and there you go. And they use cocoa nibs in secondary instead of chocolate. Obviously, they don't want very dirty up the boil kettle or whatever, but it's very chocolate forward, as you can taste, so it works. And then I also, when I brew it, I use cold pressed coffee. 31-to-1 ratio, that would have meant about 5 gallons of cold pressed coffee that they didn't have the ability to brew. So they went to 10 Drops Coffee out of Plainfield, who custom roasted beans just for this beer, and then shipped it to them. And it makes a great coffee too, because they give me a couple extra pounds of the beans.
Nice.
Shameless plug. But,
I was gonna say, you just keep coming up a win there, man. Like every it's like you shake the banister and gold giblets fall out. Like you're like, man, we're hidden gold in the wall, you know? That's amazing. So yeah, so I can't remember if I've had the homebrew version of this. The version, the commercial version here, like it changes as it warms, which is also interesting.
it does.
Like there's it's chocolate forward, it's sweet. You said there's a lactose addition in here too?
Yes, they put 55 pounds of lactose.
Okay, so we don't drink this with chili. Okay, we can handle that. Although it would go really good with chili. I gotta tell you, man, this is wonderful. But so there's like a sweetness, there's the chocolate, but then as it warms, the coffee becomes a little more evident with it, which is kind of a fun trick as well. Because this
And
isn't
as it warms more of the vanilla comes out as well.
and maybe it's the combo of the two. So now you're gonna make me drink faster.
And it's
But
only 5.5%.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say. It was like, like it's not a heavy, like sipping beer. Like if you crush it, you're not gonna be hurting, but you can also sip it because it's also very rich on the palate. It's very.
And for those drinking at home, this was not planned. We just happened to be drinking out of the exact same Boss cup.
Is that right?
We did not consult each other.
Yeah. Different cans, different glasses. That's just how it's gonna be. So yeah, it's not a heavy drink, but you could sip it and it would change. It changes with time, and it's just a wonderful beer. I mean, I don't know what else more to say about it than that.
Thank you.
Had and I enjoyed the opening party as well, where you we're at Imperial Oak. You did a nice job with that as well. It was nice to see LT and everyone at Imperial Oak. Cheers all to Imperial Oak, by the way.
Yes.
For doing this.
From their very first communication with me and setting everything up, the staff there was nothing but amazing. The brew day was outstanding. I learned so much brewing on a commercial system, and of course being watered all day didn't hurt either. And it was just, and then obviously them being there on both days, both tapping days, because we were there Friday from 6 to 9 and a Saturday at the other location from 3 to 6. So obviously we overstayed our welcome both days. So we were there probably a total of 10 hours for the 2 days, and LT and the entire staff was great both days. So cheers to them.
Roast. So, all right. Well, that's all we have for the Brewer Spotlight today. Again, this is Ed. This has been Chris. Thank you very much, Chris, for sharing your wonderful beer with me, your award-winning Augustus Gloompa. Hopefully, when we can get back together for in-person meetings, there's still some left over, and we can continue to share. So, cheers, everyone, and happy brewing. Take care.